Question: which rock changed the world forever and powered the modern age? Answer: coal. Still find the remnants of some of Telford's coal mining history in some of the place names. Places like Colmore, Coalbrookdale and Coalport. Yeah, guess why they've got the name coal at the front of them. Now, there aren't any coal mines left, active coal mines left in Telford. The last one closed in 2013 up near New Works. And you never would have guessed that there would have been a coal mine there, to be honest. The company did a fantastic job of covering up from where they were mining the coal. So the question then is, why am I standing above the busy A4169? And the reality is, this is pretty much the only place in Telford where you can see an exposure of the lower and middle coal measures as part of this embankment behind me. Now in a place called Jiggers, known locally as Jiggers Bank, and it's about halfway between Colmore and Coalbrookdale. And as you probably hear the road behind the camera, it's pretty much the only place in Telford now that you'll be able to see the coal measures exposed. Now, above me is what's called the lower coal measures, and this is about 318 million years old, give or take. Another thing you might notice is that it's not completely coal above me. We've got bands of coal, those are those black lines in the rock face behind me, interspaced with pieces of mudstone and sandstone. Now this is quite a common feature of coal seams, that you don't just get one solid band of coal. And this is mainly because of the environment that the coal was formed in. So you have this whole series of coal swamps that are interspaced with flood deposits and things like deltic deposits, parts of the estuaries, kind of as you would expect for a swampy environment. Minor fluctuations in relative sea level and in relation to the level of the land will cause changes between a foresty swampy environment and to one that's more of like a shallow water lagoon type environment. And that is displayed in the coal measures between those gaps between the sandstone and the coal and the mudstone. If you want to see another example of the coal measures within Shropshire, we have to go to CLE Hill, where we've got an active working coal mine. So I'm here on the side of CLE Hill in South Shropshire, and what we're looking at here on what's called the Incline Quarry is one of the only places where in the county where you'll find the Carboniferous coal measures exposed, so you'll be able to see them. Now, what we've got here in the quarry is essentially two Carboniferous features. Now, paradoxically, the oldest one is actually at the top, and that's called the middle coal measures. Now, the middle coal measures are about 319 to 310 million years old, and what you can see there is a dark black line, that's where the coal is, interspaced between layers of sandstone and limestone. As part of a period of mountain building that led to some of the mountains in Scotland and the Lake District, we end up with some molten rock being seeped in between the coal measures, creating what's called a sill. And that's what the bulk of this rockscape is. It's a dolerite sill. It's about 5 million years younger than the coal measures. So what is a sill? A sill is an intrusive volcanic feature. Now what happens with a sill is that molten rock will make its way up through layers, through what's called a pipe. Now they haven't found the pipe for this one. They don't know where it came from exactly. And the molten rock will work its way up until it gets caught between two layers, and then what it'll do is it will spread out parallel to the bedding planes of those layers. And that's what's happened here, is you end up with the dolerite sill spreading out between the lower and the middle coal measures. So I'm now on top of CLE Hill, and what you can see down the quarry behind the fence is the CLE Hill quarry. Now the quarry is made up predominantly of the lower and middle coal measures, and you can kind of see what I was talking about on the incline quarry earlier, that you've got these bands of coal the black layers, they're in the rock behind me, and interspersed between that are layers of sandstone, limestone, ironstone and mudstone. Now this formation is what is now buried underneath Telford, that because of there's no more quarrying, coal quarrying in the Telford area, you can't see any of this anymore. It's not like exposed. So this really is one of the only places anywhere in Shropshire now that you can see the Carboniferous coal measures. And how can I get off this hill because it's really cold? So whereas the coal measures form the top part of the Carboniferous sequence within Shropshire, the sandstones underneath me form the middle section of the Carboniferous. Now a lot of these sandstones, particularly the Liebrook one that's underneath me, is around about 330 to 340 million years old. It's a kind of middle Carboniferous period. And what we've got here is a more estuarine and delta system. We've got a series of braided channels, hence the pebbles and the gravel situation. So we've got this progression from a very watery environment to the coal one. So true trees hadn't evolved yet. We're talking mostly things like cycads and fern-like plants. Now these things got to be quite big, as tall as 30 metres in some cases. And these formed the basis for the coal measures above us. Now part of the reason why the coal is so prolific from the Carboniferous is because animals hadn't evolved the capacity to eat the woody fibrous material that made up the plant stems and trunks at this point. This is all fairly new as far as evolutionary systems are concerned. As for the animals that lived during the Carboniferous, for vertebrates we're talking amphibians, creatures like Eriops, as reptiles hadn't come into existence yet. Invertebrate-wise, this was a fantastic time for them. The proliferation of the coal forests meant there was much higher oxygen content within the atmosphere, so your insects could get huge. You got creatures like Meganeura, which is a giant dragonfly with a wingspan of up to 70 centimetres. So it's a huge flying insect. So we got this progression from the coal measures being the earliest, the sandstone in the middle. Next we're going to go south of Oswestry to find the earliest parts of the Carboniferous within Shropshire, and that's the limestone formations. So I'm finishing off our trip through the Carboniferous, right on the Welsh border, as in the border's like here, right where I'm standing, at Stanley Hill, just behind me. Now this is part of the Limestone Formation at the very base, near the very base of the Carboniferous, about 345 million years old. And as you can see in this formation, there's several bedding planes, succession of bedding planes, some thicker than others, of predominantly limestones, but with a few sandstone and mudstones thrown in as well. Now one of the things you might notice about the bedding planes here is the direction in which they're slanting. They're actually slanting towards the north-northwest, where they go underneath the later gritstones and coal measures before going underneath Oswestry, where they get buried underneath later Permian and Triassic sediments. And what we've got is the remains of an ancient seabed. There are places where there's reefs. I've got, as I'm just fossil hunting now, gastropods, bivalves, brachiopods, all that sort of thing found here at this wonderful cliff edge. And it's a fantastic place to finish off the Carboniferous. If you have a look at the geological map of Shropshire, you can see where we find the Carboniferous beds, the coal, the sandstones, and ultimately the base of the sequence, the limestones. Now join me in the next episode where we're going to go on to the Devonian of Shropshire.